This video is going to be a little bit different than my normal property videos. I'm going to provide some personal information. Personal information I presume most of you don't actually care about in the slightest. However, I have got some questions recently in regards to what am I doing in New York, how I traveled to the States while there is a travel ban in place with Europe. So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit more about my own life, why I traveled here, how I got in, and what my experience has been so far. For those of you who know my channel, you'll know that I don't provide a lot of personal information within my videos. For those of you who are first-time viewers, my name is Fleming, and generally on this channel I provide property-related videos. I've got a lot of personal questions recently on YouTube and on Instagram. I didn't really feel the need to share the answer to those questions. However, some people around me feel it's probably best that I do share the answers to some of those questions. My beautiful partner Christine is actually from the States. Most of her family are based in and around New York. Christine's mother passed away of cancer in 2020 quite suddenly. She was young, in her 60s, so it was a shock to the whole family. Due to the travel ban, I missed out on quite a lot with Christine's family in 2020. And myself and Christine were looking at the news every single day, trying to figure out when the travel ban might actually be lifted. We were hoping with Biden being elected that the travel ban would be lifted sooner. In late 2020, we suffered a miscarriage. This was extremely difficult for Christine. In the space of a few months, having a miscarriage and losing her mother. Christine is lecturing in the business school in Trinity and she's doing her PhD, but she was told that she probably wouldn't have to be back on campus until September 2021. We felt that the best thing to do would be for Christine to spend more time around her family in New York. So we decided together that we were going to book or look for flights to travel over to the States just after Christmas 2020. As we were trying to get pregnant, we decided we weren't going to spend the guts of a year apart and that I would travel over as well. It wasn't our life plan to move or spend any time in New York City. We had actually just gone sale agreed in a house in Dublin 8. The contracts are now signed in that house and we should be closing soon. Our plan was to stay in Dublin and our life is in Dublin. We started to investigate how we would travel over to the States together. It was early December, the lockdown had kind of eased off in Ireland and we were advised that the lockdown would be kind of kicking back into gear come the 6th of January at the time. So we decided we would travel before that and travel straight after Christmas. We looked into traveling straight from Ireland to the US and getting a waiver, but we were advised, even though there was some options on the waiver for us, we felt that we were told effectively that it could take a long time to get the waiver, and also there's no guarantee when you get to the airport, and there was complications at the airport as well. The second option was to fly into a country that wasn't on the US ban list, which pretty much was most countries other than Europe and Brazil. So we had loads of options. However, most of those options involved actually flying straight into the US first and then connecting onwards, such as Costa Rica and elsewhere. So we decided that the best option for us was Mexico. We knew we were going to have to stay in Mexico for at least 14 days before we'd be allowed to travel into the United States. So we decided to book 15 days within a hotel in Cancun. We were going to have to fly through Paris to Mexico first, and a few days before we actually flew, we were advised that our Dublin to Paris flight was actually moved forward a day, and we were going to have to book and stay a night in Paris as well. We had Christmas in Dublin and we packed up afterwards. We flew to Paris. When we booked our flights, we were allowed to fly to Paris and Mexico. When we got on our flights, we were also allowed to travel as well. There was no laws that we were breaking at the time. When we got to Dublin Airport was empty. When we got to check-in, we were asked quite a lot of questions in regards to our movements and making sure that we were able to go to Mexico and also travel on from Mexico as well. The flight to Paris was empty. We arrived in Paris. In the evening time, Christine had the idea originally that we would stay within Paris City. However, I felt it would be safer if we stayed within a hotel within the airport in Paris. We left for Mexico the next morning. In the airport in Paris was completely different than Dublin. It was packed. Myself and Christine were wearing face masks and face shields, and we got a lot of funny looks. I'm even think that some people took photographs of us, but the atmosphere within Dublin Airport versus Paris Airport was completely different. The airport was actually packed just after Christmas. We were hoping that our flight to Mexico would be empty, but we were wrong. It was actually packed. The pilot even got on and thanked everyone for flying and supporting air travel when we were flying to Mexico. It was a 14-hour flight, and myself and Christine had N95 masks and face shields. It was a very uncomfortable flight. A beard, N95 mask and a face shield in 14 hours doesn't make for a comfortable flight. But what made it worse was actually the fact that there was probably 12 to 13 French 18, 19-year-old teenagers on the plane as well, in a big group. Two of them happened to be sitting beside us, and they didn't seem to really care about the rules of a mask or care about the rules of staying within your seat, and kept getting up to talk to their friends, and also their friends kept coming down and talking to the two teenagers that were sitting beside us. However, we kept on our face shields and our N95s for the entire duration of that flight, and we did feel reasonably safe during that flight. We arrived into Cancun and checked into our hotel. I'm kind of guessing that the hotel had about 800 rooms, but was running at probably about 15 to 20% capacity. The hotel was very clean and open, felt very safe there. There was hand sanitizers everywhere, and we were required to wear a mask inside. Felt quite safe as well at the pool and at the beach, because there was very few people there. While we were in this beautiful vacation spot, we never really treated it as a vacation or a break. We were working in the morning time, and we did chill out in the pool in the evening time, but we were there as a stopgap to get to America. It was something that we had to do, and it was a cost to us more so than any type of break. Kind of looking back really now at this, looking back and making this video now, I kind of really feel that we should have probably taken a break while we were in Mexico and enjoyed it a little bit more. After we spent 15 days in Cancun, we got a COVID test. The COVID test came and we got it done in our room. We got a negative result the next morning, and we hopped on a flight to New York. This time the flight was empty, and the pilot gave some words of encouragement as well while we were on the plane, in terms of that there's air filtering systems on the plane that kill everything, and 0.001% of COVID related cases were due to flying with Delta. When we landed in New York, I got brought in for some questions. 15 minutes later, I was allowed to enter the US. These questions had nothing to do with the fact that I was coming from Europe or was coming from Mexico. They related to something on my passport that keeps getting flagged due to a past visa that I had. We went straight from the airport to a vacant apartment in East Village. A big thanks to Christine's family for helping us out on this one. But something to kind of note, if you are ever moving to New York, a lot of apartments are in kind of walk-up buildings that don't have lifts, and also a lot of the apartments aren't furnished. So it's a lot of work to furnish apartments here in New York, and also even bringing your shopping up 5 or 6 flights of stairs is a lot of work each day too. But a big thanks to Christine's family for helping us out with this apartment in East Village. It made it a hell of a lot easier to actually travel over here, or even make the decision to travel over here. When we first got here, we actually got tested quite a lot whenever we were meeting anyone else. It's quite easy to get tests here. There's test centers everywhere within the city. The closest one is about 5 minutes away from here, so it's quite easy to get tested, and we got tested quite a lot whenever we were meeting people. After about 3 weeks of being here in the States, I decided I wanted to go down and visit my sister in DC. And I got a test the night before and travelled down to DC to see my sister and my new niece, knowing that I was COVID free. And I think that kind of helps quite a lot in terms of knowing that you can get a test so quickly and get results so quickly here within the city. It makes it a lot easier to actually go out and socialise as well. At the point of actually making this video, I and everyone I know here in New York, from friends and family, have already got the vaccine. So I don't think any of us are going to be getting tested anymore, because we have the vaccine, and meeting up with people is definitely a lot easier once you have the confidence that you've got the vaccine. Traveling over here hasn't been the easiest. I wouldn't call it a holiday. Even though it seems great, I wouldn't call it a holiday. It's something that I actually felt that I should do to help Christine, and it's something that I felt was essential that we did as a couple as well. The plan was for Christine to stay perhaps about a year, for me to come over for a few months, and hopefully once the travel restrictions were eased, I'd be able to travel over and back a hell of a lot easier. However, Sometimes plans don't always work out the way you want them to. But hopefully it will become easier to travel internationally at some point, especially once you've had your vaccination. I suppose what's the point in having a vaccination if you can't get to start living a normal life again? There has been some fallout from all of this. I have received my fair share of negative messages from followers. All of them are entitled to their opinion. They're entitled to judge as well if they want to. I myself don't feel that I need to judge anyone. I think it's a waste of time. I have no idea what's going on in their personal life, so therefore I try and tend not to judge others. I do think people are going to judge. I do think, though, that judgment should be kept to themselves. I myself have received a lot of very negative and hateful personal messages over the last few months. People criticizing the fact that I have traveled to the US without ever asking why I've traveled. These people I've never met, I've never engaged with them in the past, but they feel that they have a right to reach out and attack me personally. I've even received messages from people that I actually get on with quite a lot, and they have came out and said that they're not going to like or share any of my stuff while I'm in New York. I haven't broken any laws, and I generally don't share a huge amount of my personal life on Instagram or YouTube. So therefore, I do not believe that it is right for me to receive very personal, hateful messages from people I've never met. I think it's uncalled for. Perhaps these people believe that they have a right to do this and these comments are warranted, but I myself personally don't want to hear them. People are welcome to judge me all they want. I would ask that they keep that judgment to themselves. I personally don't want to see it or hear it. Dublin is very much my home, and we will be completing the contracts on that house in Dublin 8 in the coming weeks, and Alexander is managing stuff on the ground during lockdown. I know things are tough in Ireland at the moment, and I know I am lucky to be here and have this opportunity, and I will finish on that note. I will be back to making more property related videos in the coming weeks. Perhaps I might make a video on property sourcing, or maybe how you value development land. Let me know which one you'd want to see first. If you do want to see videos on my personal experience here within the city and what I'm doing within the city, I will put them up on YouTube. If you want those as well, let me know if that's something you're interested in. But as always, I just want to say thanks for watching and thanks for the support.